Ready.
Just relax and enjoy the ride.
INCROWD815, 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 INCROWD815.
It is such a crazy coincidence that the moon and the sun are the same size in the sky. I'm Greg. Tom's out there somewhere, but not here. We'll explain coming up. This is your INCROWD815 podcast for the 6th day of April, the year 2024, the latest it has ever been in the history of mankind. And you made it. Congratulations. This kind of looks silly, doesn't it? Does it look kind of goofy? We'll just take those off. I don't think these are eclipse certified glasses. I don't see any ISO numbers on this thing. There's something about a healthcare company that they gave me those for free. But other than that, how are you? Are you ready for the big gig? Are you ready for the big party that's happening on Monday all across? Well, not all across. Most of the eastern side of the United States. We are planning on going on live during the solar eclipse on Monday afternoon, sometime around between 1 and 1:30. We'll be going on. It's the whatever totality we're going to have here in Northern Illinois. What did they say? 90%ish, something like that, 91%. We'll experience that through the lens of a cheap camera out of my window, and we'll see how we were able to talk to some folks in Missouri or somewhere else south of here that might be more in the line of totality. In fact, that's where Tom may be on his way right now. So looking forward to chatting with Tom on Monday if we don't talk to him today. He's on the road currently, so I don't know that we're going to be able to talk to him today. We do have a big number of the week this week. Whether Tom plays or not, we're still going to play. So here we go. Did I fix my caption? Yes, I did. Our current race to 10 has Tom and Joann locked up, tied at 3 apiece. And the big number of the week this week is 1.5 billion. The answer is stream or sky. Stream or sky. We'll see if maybe Tom will text me his answer anyway. Maybe he's listening in on the Facebook feed right now or something. Tom, I want your guess. Stream or sky? And if we don't get it, we'll let Diane play in your place because she's ready to play. She's a player. She likes trivia. She likes this kind of stuff. We'll see how that goes. All right. We do have a guest that we're going to bring on here next week. We're going to be chatting with Cassie Bonnet from MacTown Construction. Cassie and her team at MacTown Construction will be hosting the INCROWD815 Networking Group at the end of this month. We'll get details from her next week on that. But today, our guest is known affectionately, I must say, as the Master of Disaster. She is not like Steve Urkel, ruining everything where she goes. She's Diane Logsdon of the Logsdon Group. Good morning, Diane.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
Have you ever been compared to Steve Urkel?
No, I'm a little more Bazinga than Steve Urkel, I think.
You're a little more Bazinga than Steve Urkel. That's
yeah.
You're a little more Sheldon-like.
Yes.
So for those who may have never met Diane Logsdon, tell us about yourself. Where'd you grow up? Where are you from? And how'd you find yourself in this crazy career that you're in?
I'm an 815 as well, but I'm a McHenry County 815 born and bred. And we decided to move over to Rockford in 2018 because our grandson was this direction. They're in Belvedere. So we were like, hey, we got to see that kid before he goes to university more often. And so we moved this way. And I'll tell you what, we love it over here. Just love it. The crazy world that I got into started with the 93 Lake Mississippi floods, and it didn't happen until after the floods. The next year, we did a driving trip down the Mississippi Valley, and it was just amazing to me. I mean, awesome damage from the floods of the Mississippi River. And so I came back and I called the Red Cross and I volunteered. I was like, I'm never going to be in a position again where I should be doing something to help people, and I'm not able to get engaged and do something to help. And so for 94 on, I've been doing the world of disaster.
Interesting. We're having some weird audio issues with your link at the moment, and I'm just going to double check and see what's going on here. If okay, so we're on live. Everything's good there. Maybe it was just me increasing your volume. All right. How does that sound now? You hear me okay?
I hear you just fine, yes.
Weird.
Try something.
Our video audio is not syncing up at the moment. So let's have you log back in, Diane, okay?
Okay. Is it better?
Go ahead and log off and log back in, and we'll see if we can't reconnect and make a better connection, because it was all solid until we launched, and then all of a sudden things got a little bit goofy and wonky, and I don't know what that might have been all about. So let's try this again. There we go.
Okay. Is that better?
That is much better.
Okay, good.
So the 93 Mississippi floods, you're driving around checking things out.
I was working at a mental health place doing their computer system database programming.
Okay.
Watching the news every night as everybody else was across the nation, because it was a nationwide story, because it flooded literally from the headwaters in Minnesota all the way to the Gulf over that summer. So it was newsworthy somewhere in the US all summer long. But the next year we did a driving trip down the Mississippi Valley, and there's somewhere in Illinois to either northern Missouri or southern Iowa, there's a ferry landing. And we got to that ferry landing a year after the flood, so the ferry still wasn't running. And we drove due east on the access road for 5 miles. We actually tracked it on the odometer. 5 miles. There was absolutely nothing, Greg. Everything was completely gone, 30, 40 feet up in the air. And then at the top of the old oak trees, which were about the only thing that was still there, the huge trunk, 200-year, 300-year-old oak trees, there was this burst of all of the tiny twigs, because the twigs and bark where the water was rushing had all been stripped off. But it was like a flower burst at the top of the tree with just dead twigs. It was really just an awesome sight, like in the true word of awesome.
Yeah.
And I just never wanted to be in a position again where I couldn't do something to help people either be better prepared or respond or recover more effectively from disasters when they happen.
For those that might not be old enough to remember that time back in 93, the helicopters and the videos that they were getting, especially on the Iowa side of the river, just was devastating. I mean, some of the smaller towns that were kind of gone. I mean, they're nearly gone. Water past the first floor of buildings in some of these small towns along the Iowa side of the river. And it was really, really something to behold. So that got you interested in disaster preparedness.
Right.
And when somebody asks you about disaster preparedness, to me, that sounds like a textbook example of a Pandora's box, because you can go in so many different directions of disaster preparedness. Do you have a specific focus, or you try to be as general as possible when it comes to all potential disasters?
It really varies on who I'm talking to and what their focus is, because some groups have very specific hazard assessment that they have to do. And with individuals, really it comes down more to who are they? What's their family composed of? Who lives in their household? Who do they generally have in their car? Right? Because the two places I really feel like we need to be prepared are in our home and in the car when we're not at home, because you've got a workplace and you've got a school and you've got other spaces that you're in. But really, there are other people around in those places, and there's a difference. But we're really responsible primarily for our home and for our car. So if we don't have the right things with us in our house and in our car for who we have in those spaces, then it doesn't matter what we know or what tools we've bought. I mean, there are lists of all kinds of things that people say that you should buy and have on hand, and I don't have any of them.
No.
I've got this thing that I call Diane's double duty directive. Diane's double duty directive is that every one of my tools should do more than one thing for me.
That's a neat idea. Yeah. I feel that way too. It's not just a flashlight and a granola bar. You need a little bit more than that, don't you?
Actually, I carry a wine glass in my car, because if we get snow and I get stuck in my car in the winter, I need water. And how am I going to make water out of the bottle of water that's turned into an ice cube? I'm not. It's easier to melt snow than a big piece of ice. And so I'm going to scoop up snow with my wine glass, stick it over the candle that I keep in my car. The candle's keeping my car warm. The candle's also melting the water. The wine glass can also be used for wine if my husband and I have a weekend out of town. So double duty directive there again.
I mean, when it comes to basic survival skills, I mean, number one, pretty much besides keeping yourself from freezing if you're in the wintertime, is having a water source. I mean, having water.
Absolutely. We can go without food a lot longer than water.
I think that's something that a lot of people don't take into consideration. You really, most people can go many days and not really eat a morsel of food, but you'll dehydrate. What's the average adult span for dehydration? I mean,
I feel like some of us run mostly dehydrated every day. So,
right.
I mean, the medical concept of how long it might take is going to vary for people too, based on whether or not you're actually already running low on water anyway. Do we drink enough? I don't know. I don't know if we do it. You know, there's the whole health side of the world. I don't get into the personal health side of it so much, but I know that in order to survive, I'm going to be able to need to take care of that for myself. And so that's one of the bigger things. But I'll tell you what, I don't have bottled water here at the house. You know, they recommend that everybody should have a gallon of water per day for 3 days for each person that's inside of their household. But I don't have that. What I have instead is the knowledge and the skills to be able to get water. So my uncle still lives on the family farm and he's got tractors and he's on a well. And so I know I can get water from my uncle's farm if I need to get water. If we're in really dire straits, I'm not looking for the city of Rockford. I live right in the city. I'm not looking for the city of Rockford to get my water turned back on necessarily. And if we're under boil orders, I'm taking bladders out to the farm and I'm bringing them back in the back of my vehicle. And I'm using water from the farm that comes from the well at you know, where I grew up. I grew up drinking that water anyway. So why not drink that?
And that's probably at the very top of the survival skills list is making sure you have a water source. Where you're going to get it, how you're going to store it, how you're going to transport it. I mean, probably my biggest fear in a catastrophic situation would be battered. That's what I have is, you know, what would the plan be if all of us were not at home and everything just hit the fan at once and there's no more power anywhere? Now what?
Yeah. Really critical. We actually had a plan when my whole family lived here. Most of my family, my childhood family, most of them have moved away and live in other places, Florida, North Carolina. But so when everyone was still here, my brother was in Beloit and the rest of us were in Woodstock. And the plan was that my brother-in-law and his brother owned 2 auto mechanic shops, one in Woodstock and one in Harvard. And the plan was literally that if there was a tornado or something happened and we couldn't find each other, we couldn't get in touch with each other, we didn't know, you know, who was impacted and who wasn't, that we would go to the shop in Woodstock and just tape a note to the front window. They didn't have to be open, just tape a note to the front window that says, you know, this family from this household, we're okay, staying at the house, impacted but okay, you know, where whatever you need to say, just whatever information you have that you can leave for the family. And then if we couldn't find each other, at least we would know when you go to check the window, oh, this person's already checked in, this person's already checked in, they're okay, and we've got space. If you guys aren't okay and you need to come to our house, you know, whatever it was. And if we couldn't get to the one in Woodstock or that one was impacted and gone, then we could go to the one in Harvard and leave the note there instead. So no matter which direction was impacted, we had a backup plan for it and one contact out of the area. So my sister in North Carolina was the one contact out of the area, because oftentimes you can get a phone call out or get a text message out, but you can't make multiple calls post-disaster. So get a message to one person outside of the area, and then my aunt in Arizona, my uncle in Arizona, my aunt in Texas, all the cousins, the kids who were living other places could call my sister in North Carolina who wasn't impacted. And she could share information with the rest of the family about who's okay, who's not okay, what's going on up here.
That's a good plan. Yeah. To have someone out of the area. Cause in most cases you would think, hopefully, any kind of disaster will be localized or regionalized and not nationwide. So
until we get into pandemics, and then that's all
pandemics and right. That sort of stuff. So I know your group, the Logsdon group, is something you're called upon to do what? When someone calls you and says, hey, we want you to come and ABC, what is it that you focus on when you talk to groups?
I call it the APT method, and it's really the same thing that emergency managers do anywhere across the world. It's assessing what the hazards and risks are, and then planning for them, and then testing that plan and training staff on it. So APT is the basics of what emergency managers do everywhere. My thing is that that my company has been in place since 2006, and I've been doing it as a contractor for organizations who are small to mid-sized, who don't have one of me already on staff. So places that have emergency management staff, universities, hospital systems, county level in the state of Illinois, most counties have full-time emergency management staffs with multiple people. Those are not the folks that I like to work with as well, because they're already doing the good things that that emergency management does, to be prepared, to be resilient, to be able to recover effectively when something occurs. So I like to work with the folks that don't have one of me. And then I also like to volunteer. So I volunteer with a couple of different organizations, and have even served on the advisory board for the Cook County Department of Public Health for years, up until COVID struck. And then they stopped their advisory board meetings and their leadership changed. And I was obviously living out here at that point as well, so farther away from that area. But so giving back to the community as well. And you know too, that part of that giving back is doing preparedness talks. So we didn't talk about this before, but I actually spoke at one of the Rockford linked lunches out at the restaurant.
She said, yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of giving back and sharing information just with groups of people who need it, as well as, you know, the consulting side, the work that I do in my business is one thing, but really getting information in the hands of the folks who need it and can use it effectively is key. And the thing is that, you know, in my world, there are 4 phases to emergency management, to disasters. It's preparedness, mitigation, response, and recovery, and not in any order necessarily, because they can all be happening at the same time. And folks say, you know, preparedness, I think it's a FEMA number. Preparedness, for every dollar spent, we save $4 in response and recovery. And in mitigation, for every dollar spent, we save $7 in response and recovery. So we look at the billions of dollars that we're spending in disaster response and recovery now. If we just spent a little more in advance of it, we can keep from having those problems. We can keep our roof shingles on in higher winds. We can keep the earthquake from cracking foundations and moving things around. We can keep from having to raise properties after a disaster because structurally they're not sound anymore. And we can really make a difference in our economics and in our built environment and in our history, saving our history and our especially historic buildings and spaces. It really does a lot. So my focus has always been toward the preparedness side, even more than the mitigation side, because I really feel like knowledge, skills, and abilities save lives in disasters. And that's key for me. Like, if we can keep people from dying in tornadoes, and I'm just still, it infuriates me. We know how to survive disasters, but we don't build for it and we don't do it. And that just drives me crazy, because if we had safer spaces in all of our structures and we paid attention to it, we might not have, I can't say we wouldn't, but we might not have fatalities anymore in those storms.
I think what you said there about the preparedness, every dollar you spend in preparedness saves you $4 in recovery. And I mean, that's at least should be some motivation for people to do something.
Right?
I mean,
one would hope.
One would hope, and that's I think the same argument can be made as far as, you know, life insurance and other preparedness things that people do just to prepare for end of life and such. As, you know, the one thing about life is, you know, death wins. we haven't we've only heard of one that survived that, and he's, you know, so now we've got this situation where a disaster could happen. We can kind of predict some things, not all things. We know we get, like in the Midwest, we know we get tornadoes every year. We want to be prepared for such things as tornadoes and strong thunderstorms. And yeah, I didn't know about straight line winds until about 20 years ago. That was a new thing to me when it hit Rockford 20-ish or so real years ago, with those straight line winds, tornado, gales, but in straight lines. What?
Yeah, we had a hickory tree, a full-sized hickory tree, come down on the house in one of those straight line windstorms about 20 years ago.
It was devastating. It was crazy. And
listen, that same storm system is a storm system that took EF5 tornadoes into Moore, Oklahoma. Moore, Oklahoma had 3 EF5 tornadoes in a like 8-year period, or 5 of them actually. I deployed out to 3 of them and worked the scene out there for 3 of them. We have tornadoes here, but we haven't seen a really big tornado in decades. And when you see an EF5, like the tornadoes that we had last year, almost 1 year ago, it was 1 year ago this week, I think Tuesday maybe would have been the 1-year anniversary of the tornadoes that hit by Eisenhower School.
Mm-hmm.
When those hit and I saw the damage from them, I could tell looking at it that it was tornadic damage. And I look for the same things that the Weather Service does, like the twisting of the trees, not just the falling over, right? That's the difference in the winds. And where the debris falls and how it falls tells them. And then they, of course, know how to estimate the wind speeds to get our F rating, our EF rating. But just looking at the damage, it was topping the trees. It was taking roof damage. It wasn't hitting the entire house. When I flew into Oklahoma for one of those EF5 tornadoes, when you look at an EF5 tornado damage path, there is nothing left on the ground. Mm-hmm. It literally just scrubs the ground down to brown dirt, regardless of what was built on it. It's incredible damage. And what worries me is that we're really kind of complacent, and we don't really take our tornado warnings seriously when they're put out. And we think that we're going to be able to see it and still get to our basement fast enough, but they're just right on top of you in no time. And this is why people are still dying. We're not paying enough attention, and we're not practicing effectively how to safely get into a space that's going to protect us more. There's no safe space in a big tornado, especially, but we can be safer by being in the right places in our structures.
Wasn't it an EF2 or EF3 that took out Fairfield, Illinois?
Yeah, I think it was a 3, if I recall correctly. That was the Rochelle and
Fairfield, right? We wiped out the Grubstakers restaurant south of our town here in New Milford, and between New Milford and Rochelle.
And here's the amazing thing about tornadoes. It's not just the area that's hit either. I just sat forward in my chair. I'm getting all jazzed up. This is my jam, right? It's not just the area that's hit. We were living at the time in McHenry County, and we lived north of Woodstock, like in that triangle between, for those who know McHenry County, Illinois, that triangle between Woodstock, McHenry, and Hebron. We were out in the country right there. 65 miles as the crow flies is what I figured out on the map the next day by pulling the arrow up the map on Google Maps. 65 miles from Grubstakers. I had in my yard the next day after Grubstakers got hit by that tornado, a 2005 Cisco receipt for Grubstakers in my yard, 65 miles away. So when the tornado hits an area and it picks that debris up, it gets it tens of thousands of feet into the sky, and we don't know where the 2x4 is going to land or where the roof of the garage from somebody's house is going to land, right? So it's not just being right in the tornado, it's also that the debris is flying out from that storm and landing somewhere. So even if you're just outside observing and you can see that you're not directly in the path of the tornado, you don't know that you're not going to get knocked in the head by somebody's debris.
Right. Isn't the rating 2 times every time you go up? So an EF4 is 2 times as strong as a 3, and a 5 is 2 times as strong as a 4, or something like that.
That's more of the mathematical thing is more of an earthquake, but the actual wind speeds, the spinning wind speeds is how you get the tornado speeds.
Well, the site I've got up now is the NYPark.org site, which I'll put that in the chat here too. Tell us about this organization.
Yeah, so NYPark is the Northwest Illinois Preparedness and Response Coalition, and it's a healthcare coalition. So helping for all of the healthcare community to be better prepared. Started as a hospital preparedness program years ago and expanded out to be inclusive of not just the hospital setting, but all of the healthcare provider types. And the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services, Medicare and Medicaid Services, I always get those backward. The CMS folks have 17 different types of healthcare providers that they consider to be part of the entire healthcare community. So NYPark serves all of those provider types. It's a grant-funded organization. Mercy Health is the fiduciary for us, and they manage the oversight for our staff member that we have who runs the coalition for us. But so it's a volunteer-led, volunteer-based group. Everyone voluntarily comes to it. But all of these healthcare organizations, the 17 provider types who accept Medicare or Medicaid services, so they take Medicaid patients, nursing homes that accept Medicare payments for their people, they're all required by law to have emergency management programs, full comprehensive programs that include plans and assessments and exercises every single year. And so we come together as a group on a monthly basis. And then every quarter we have a big group meeting and we talk about what the issues are and how to be better prepared. And this year we're actually working on our chemical plan, which is what you're looking at right there, the Strategic National Stockpile ChemPack program. And we just did 2 exercises, 2 tabletops for the hospital setting specifically last week to talk about what are we going to do? How are we going to use it? How do we access it? Identifying whether or not phone numbers are still good, and if everything that's written in the plan is still effective and in place, and do we need additional resources? And there are a whole lot of resources that we know that we don't have enough of in a big incident. So where are we then going to access those, and how far out do we reach, and how long does it take them to get to us? We actually have a response team that went up into Wisconsin a couple of weeks ago for the tornado response that they had up there to support their operations. And of course, you know, our healthcare systems are across the border. They don't see the state line as a stop in private industry. They've got facilities on both sides. So it's very easy for healthcare to move across the state. It's a little harder for our government partners to necessarily move state to state, because in emergency management, government follows under the National Emergency Management Assistance Compact. And so it's harder to do that neighbor to neighbor moving around, but our team can move very easily and go up and support and assist. So that's a really cool thing too. But so we're a 9-county area. We go from Boone County to the river and then down, including Whiteside County. I think that's our farthest south county. But so 9 counties in the northwest part of the state. And like I said, we meet every month in, I actually help coordinate the allied providers. So the non-hospital settings, long-term care, developmentally disabled, intermediate care facilities, assisted living, but also the more outpatient service types of places. Dialysis centers are a highly critical medical function, and we need those places to really be ready to stand back up immediately or be able to move their operations, what we call continuity of operations, move their operations if their physical plant is impacted, because those patients absolutely cannot go without their services. When you're on dialysis, you need to be dialyzed on your own schedule. So making sure that that happens is really a key thing.
The life, it's not just about life saving; it's life continuing for folks like that, right? They rely on you. Talk about these if someone is those chem
pack.
The chem packs, if there's a situation where those are needed, I mean that's a scary thought. But again, it's if someone's been affected by a specific chemical, and I guess that's probably, is that one of the things that you guys discuss, is the likelihood of certain chemicals infecting large groups of people?
Not a likelihood necessarily so much. And part of the challenge with a regional planning group is that we have 9 counties. And our counties are very different. Winnebago County is very different from Lee County, right? We have very, very agricultural areas where organophosphates and anhydrous is used consistently through agriculture. And so, those areas have some slightly different threats and risks than the city of Rockford necessarily has. So at the same time that we're planning for that large 9-county area, each of the single individual counties are planning through their county emergency management offices. And then in the municipalities where they have, in Rockford specifically, we have a very strong fire department. We have a lot of folks in the fire department here who have done emergency management training and understand the planning concepts and move forward with that. So in the city, they've got their own planning going on, and then that all feeds into the overarching the more regional plans. So we let them dial into their details, and then we look at the bigger picture. How do we move things to the areas that need them across the region? And of course, we have state partners as well. So when something happens that's big enough that we need to go outside of our own 9-county region, we need resources from somewhere else, we look to those folks to be able to bring that to bear for us as well.
Awesome. Good deal. Well, if somebody wants to plug into what you guys are doing, the link to that website is in the chat there, NIPARC.org, NIPARC.org, and check that out. Sign up for the website and the group there, and then you have an event for the group members coming up here next month. What's that all about?
Yeah, May 1st. So under the CMS emergency preparedness rule, so that's Center for Medicare, Medicaid Services, they have requirements for all of those providers. And every single year, those providers are required to engage in a community-based exercise of some type. And we're doing our annual exercise for the non-hospital providers on May 1st at our quarterly full meeting. And so if people want to, if you're with a healthcare organization and you want to engage, you want to get to that meeting, you want to get to that exercise, go to the website, scroll just a little bit down below that picture. There's a become a member button, get in that, and then we'll start emailing with you and get you engaged and let you know when the meeting's going to be. And hopefully we'll be able to get you there and help you be better prepared.
Awesome. Good deal. Is this one of those events where you like need actors to come and pretend like they're sick or they're dying?
Not this one. No, this one's just conversational. We might need those in the future, though. I know you're an actor, Greg. Are you interested in playing a role?
I'm not sure. It depends. But yeah, I've heard of them doing that, like at the airport for like a disaster preparedness there, where we're going to be pretending that the plane crashed, and here's the people that are injured, and the healthcare workers have to figure out what's going on. With here, you're suffering from that. You broke this, and it's very interesting, but it's sensible. I mean, you really want to have people, whatever little bit of muscle memory they can produce is that, okay, if I'm in a situation now, high stress situation where something really terrible has happened, at least I've talked about it. At least I've simulated what this might be like, so I don't have to freak out. I can go and act on my knowledge and not on my emotions and such. So, before we let you go, I do want to mention that you are a part of Womanspace. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about your involvement with Womanspace.
Well, I volunteer a tiny little bit over there. I don't consider myself to be an artistic person, but I'm a planner, right? And they do events and they do other things. And they've got a fabulous property, a beautiful property where the outdoor group keeps the gardens in really good shape. And there's a labyrinth when you follow the path around. There's the labyrinth right there. There's just all kinds of events that are going on constantly over there. And there are classes and lunch and learns and book clubs and special events that are happening. And next year, 2025, is actually their 50th anniversary. So next year, it'll even be ratcheted up a little bit more because it'll all be kind of this golden year of 50 years of Dorothy Bach and Elaine Hirschenberg's vision for what happens. But another thing that I really like about Womanspace is that they don't just have their own programs, they're consistently engaged with other nonprofits in the community and working on other things. And most recently, they've been helping to get the Venezuelan immigrant families who have just been relocated here set up in households and get their households furnished for them because they came here with nothing, and their stipend to live off of isn't going to go very far. And so they worked very closely with the RAI, the Rockford Area Immigration or Immigrants Group. It's a new nonprofit in the area to get those folks set up and help to welcome them to the community. So really doing good work in the community and having fun events that go on. And I'm actually serving as their chair for the 50th anniversary leadership council or leadership committee. I don't remember what we called ourselves, but anyway, so I'm helping to facilitate those meetings and keep things going. And because I'm a planner, get the plans in place for the new events or the fun events that we're reenacting and revisiting from the past as well.
Yeah, nice. Okay, Good deal. Well, I really appreciate your time. I hope your May preparedness event goes well.
Yeah.
And I'm sure at some point in the future, you'll be back to speak again to a Rockford linked group because, that'll probably become an annual thing, like at the beginning of the year for you, Diane,
Okay. I'm in.
Yep.
Since I started my business, I said I was going to do up to 3 pro bono preparedness talks about people being better prepared. We can't get there if we don't talk about it. It's kind of like everything else. We can't ever get there if we never talk about it. So I'm happy to do it, Greg. You let me know when you want me to come back.
Last thing.
Yeah.
Normally we'd be doing trivia with Tom right now, but we don't have Tom. So we're not going to do trivia today, but are you doing anything special Monday for the eclipse? And do you think there's any reason to be afraid of a disaster happening during Monday's solar eclipse crossing our country?
We actually went down to LaSalle County for the last eclipse because it was really cloudy up here and we wanted to see it, but not be right in the path of totality. Because honestly, like the folks who are going, the hundreds and hundreds of thousands who are going into the path of totality, I worry more for those people than I do for us up here. We have good systems up here. We have loads of highly trained professional responders. We aren't going to have the excesses of people coming into the community. And so I'm not worried for us so much. And honestly, it's going to get a little dark in the middle of the day. What they're saying, here's something for folks though, to protect your animals. If you have animals in your home, close your blinds, put them in your darkest room already, keep them inside, make sure they're not seeing the sun go because they have their own circadian rhythms. They understand the timing as well. And so animals react when something like this happens. So protect your animals, talk to your kids about it, protect your eyeballs. Even from here, please don't look at the sun without the special glasses. But otherwise, I think everybody's going to probably just be fine up here in the northern parts of the state. I'm looking forward to it and hoping that it's not cloudy and we get to see something from here.
That's a really good point though, because animals do freak out, and we had that experience in our family. I don't want to get into the details, but one of our family members had a really bad experience with their dog because of the last eclipse, which was 2017. Discovery Center is doing something today from 11 to 3. This is $10 per person for the public, free to museum members at Discovery Center Museum solar eclipse preview, and they'll be talking about what to expect on Monday. So anyway, Diane, thanks so much for jumping on with us today, and we'll look forward to catching up with you again down the line.
Good. Thanks, Greg.
All right, there's her information there on the screen for you, the Logsdon group, and we got the link in the chat for you, so you can click right on the link and go right to her webpage and learn more all about the Logsdon group and emergency planning. I've got Joann at PAWS not quite standing by. Her camera's on, but she's not currently sitting in front of the camera. So we're not going to, let's see here. I'm going to go like this here and like this here. Let's see. Well, let's see if we can hear anything over at the PAWS Humane Society. We're checking into PAWS HQ. Let's see, there's where Joann's going to be here momentarily. Anyway, I didn't write down a whole lot of shout outs this week because I knew we were going to be talking with Diane quite a bit. I do want to say thanks to Rock House Kids Executive Director Dee Lackney. She was our speaker this week at GTTN, the Growing Together Through Networking Group, which we meet the first and third Wednesday of every month at the Machine Shed. Can you tell I spend a lot of time at the Machine Shed? I'm at the Machine Shed at least 3 times a month, twice for breakfasts on Wednesday, the first and third Wednesday, and then the second Friday of every month, I'm there for lunch with our Rockford linked group. Good morning, Joann. I see you there. How am I sounding today?
Fine. Seems fine.
There you are. There you are. We're not going to have Tom this morning. He's traveling.
Oh, he went to go somewhere to see the eclipse?
He did. That's where they're after. They're off to I guess, southern Missouri to be a part of closer to totality there. So we're looking forward to probably having him on Monday. We're going to go on special live Monday during the eclipse here and experience it together and see who we can connect with, maybe through Facebook Live or through.
What time is the eclipse?
Well, in our area, right around 2 o'clock, around 1:58, I think, is what they're anticipating when it's going to be the darkest. between like 158 and 202 or somewhere around there. So
Okay.
here's the thing. It's not just going to all of a sudden happen.
Are you gonna be live with Tom from his remote location?
That's the plan. That's the hope.
Okay.
I'm going to set up a camera
my
here.
son-in-law is going to Indiana. I don't
Okay.
know if
Well,
we're supposed to get 91% is what I
it's
read.
going to be pretty good. I mean, the amount of sun blocked in our area is going to be significant enough that, you know, you're going to be pretty impressed by it, I think. But it's not something that just happens all of a sudden.
Oh, I know. It's like,
so yeah, kids who are maybe getting a little bit freaked out about this whole idea. This is not something that just happens instantaneously.
Turning on
and
electricity.
it happens slowly. Here's a picture, by the way, of festival cities. All those blue dots there are special festivals happening in the line of totality, all the way from the Texas-Mexico border, right there down by Eagle Pass, all the way up into New England and just south of Ottawa, Canada up there. So, and what Diane was mentioning was basically, I'm going to stay away from this whole blue area. There's a lot of people.
I can't see your map, so.
You can't quite see the map? Okay.
I can see INCROWD815 podcast.
Oh, really? This should be on the full screen. Surprised
That's
you can't.
on the full screen.
Can I make this a little bit bigger? You know, it's I forget what time it's going to cross the border there for Texas, Mexico, but by the time it gets to Illinois, and you can see almost half, you know, a little more than a third, maybe about close to a third to a half of Illinois will be in the line of totality. And so there's a lot of things going on. Southern Illinois, into southern Missouri, all across the state of Indiana and Ohio, pretty much, where there's all these eclipse festival things going on. And Diane's concern is that large groups of people are going to be in places where some resources might not be readily available should something bad happen.
Oh.
So, you know, I don't know how you feel about large groups of people. I generally tend to avoid being parts of large groups of people, especially when they're not that organized. Right? If I'm going to be a part of a large group, I want to make sure it's
staying home. So
yeah.
I do most of the time anyhow.
Absolutely. So the GTTN, wanted to give them a quick shout out. Today would have been my grandmother's 113th birthday.
Wow.
She died about 7 years ago. And she was one of those women who I thought would outlive us all. So when she passed, it was actually a shock to me, even though she was old.
Yeah.
I just always figured she'd fight through anything.
I remember that it's my ex-husband's grandmother. She lived to be 99.
Mm-hmm.
And because she was always there, you know, in our lives. I mean, since the time I met him until I think she died, the kids were young. And it was just like, because she was always there, we always thought she would always be there. Does that make sense?
Well, that's how I felt about Grandma Rachel. She was the matriarch of the family.
You always were there, and you always will be there.
Exactly. And she's
gone.
Always still right here. Always still right here. So anyway, I don't know that I have a whole lot more. You already sent me your pet of the week. Thank you for that. Were you fooled? Were you fooled by anything on April Fool's Day, Joann? Did anybody fool you?
No, actually not.
No.
Although one of my friends said she had moved to, I was kind of mad at her because without telling us, she said she moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma. Is that right?
She was kidding?
she let it go for several days, and then she said, "Guys, quit. It was an April Fool's joke." And I thought, but she had, you know how you have this life event, and it was on there that she moved.
Well,
I kind of thought that was kind of rude.
Well, I think my favorite April Fool's joke, it did get me for about 20 to 30 seconds, and then I caught on, was the thing that Starlight Theater did, saying that they had cast
I know, the dog and the cat.
Yes, they cast a cat to play the role of Bruiser the dog in Legally Blonde,
Yeah,
which
I
I'm
saw
in Legally
that.
Blonde this summer. I've got a role in Legally Blonde for this summer at RVC Starlight Theater, so want to make sure everyone comes out and sees the big show. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, your baby's crying.
But yeah, this one, in a surprising twist, welcome tender look massage that really brought us to love Precious. We can't wait to share this extremely lovable cat in costume as Bruiser the Chihuahua. Also, the ballet stylings of Carl, the adorably talented pit bull, sold us on him for the role of Rufus, Paulette's bulldog.
It was funny.
This is how you do April Fools. That was hilarious. Well done, Starlight Theater. Yeah. Other than that, I don't think I was really caught on anything April Fools worthy this week. I want to congratulate some clients getting under contract this week. That was good. Hopefully I'll have another one to congratulate today. Got to finally show. Not showing a lot of houses these days, Joann. And it's not because I'm not available. It's because there's not a lot of houses to show. And the buyers that I'm working with, you know, they have a set criteria, and there's no reason to show them houses that don't fit their criteria. So I'm not one of those agents that like drags client to see houses hoping that they'll like them, even though they already told me what they want.
Mm-hmm.
There are agents that do that. And I know that to be true because my own dad and my stepmom, when they were looking for the last house that they purchased up in Wisconsin, their agent, they're not even exaggerating, took them to over 100 houses over the course of about 2 years. But still, they looked at so many houses that had nothing to do with their chosen criteria. It was very frustrating for them. And I said, wow, I wish I would have had my license in Wisconsin when you were looking up there, because I would have definitely not taken you to 100 houses. You might have looked at 5 to 10. That's it. Because
I think that gets too confusing too, because you can't even remember what you really saw. Thank goodness now you could take a picture of something. And I mean, I'm thinking of the olden days, where you might see. What was that house again? Remember it had, where you might, are you allowed to take pictures?
Most people got to take notes. You got to have something to say, okay, this was this address. This is what we liked about it. And as soon as somebody mentions something about a house that's not changeable and it's a deal breaker, we're done. We can forget about that house. Just rip up the page. We're done. We're not coming back because it's not changeable. And you told me that's a deal breaker. We're not coming back. But if there's nothing there, there's no deal breakers. We're keeping that. And we're looking further. So just stay out of the doghouse. It's Daniel with the logical, deep wisdom right there. Thank you, Dan. Anyway, this could be interesting too. We always talk about the birds of prey that happen at Atwood Center. They happen on Saturdays. I'm curious to hear if someone's going to be at the Atwood Center on Monday during the eclipse and what the birds are going to do during that.
Well, they were saying to keep your dogs inside during the eclipse, but I thought it was only dangerous if you look directly at the sun.
The thing of it is our animals, they're not going to know what the heck's going on. It's going to be freaking them out. So why is it turning nighttime in the middle of the day? And some animals are going to be ultra sensitive to that. And I know that to be true because, like I said, we had a family member that had a really bad experience.
But here, I mean, when they go outside, in the dark, they just run around and act the same as when it's light out. So
Yeah, this is special. This is different. It's,
well, now I'm curious. I want to do a science experiment to see if they even notice.
well, yeah. All I'm going to say to you is be careful. Arm yourself. You don't, because they seriously, the stories I've heard, not just of the family member, but other folks that have had their, especially dogs. I don't know about cats so much, but I imagine cats too.
Do they panic?
They panic. Yeah, they freak out and they panic because they don't know what's going on.
Oh,
Maybe today we also have this event at Midway Village Museum today. Can this open up bigger? There we go. Look at that. Saturday, April 6th, that's today, 1 to 4 at Midway Village Museum. The Rockford Regional Wildlife Coalition has free refreshments, a live performance from Little Miss Ann at 2 o'clock, a kids musician, workshops for kids, live birds of prey, meet and greet, live animal ambassadors from Randall Oaks Zoo. That's all happening at Midway Village Museum Center today from 1 to 4. And one of my friends that I haven't seen in quite a while, Christina's a part of that. She's a raccoon specialist with the Rockford Regional.
We talked about that last week too.
We did. And it's free. It's absolutely free. So bring kids out there and check that out if you're available this afternoon. Yes, we're already on. Diane did a great job with our interview today. Thanks, Diane Logsdon from the Logsdon Group, to come on and talk about emergency preparedness. So she kind of filled up our time fairly well with an absence of Tom. The other announcements I had for today was this: April is National Volunteer Month. Good month to focus on. Where are you volunteering? What would you like to volunteer doing? Take a look around. There's a lot of opportunities around Rockford for volunteerism. And I'm sure if you just did a Google search for Rockford, Illinois volunteer, you could find all kinds of options to take a look at what's going on. Experts are warning the public about a possible counterfeit safety glasses and the damage they could cause to your eyes during the solar eclipse on Monday. If you bought a pair of cheap glasses, you can't just stare at the sun with regular glasses and expect not to have eye damage. They need to be ISO certified. I don't know what that means. All I know is you don't want to be looking at the sun through a typical pair of sunglasses. It could ruin your eyes. So be careful about that. In our area, right around 12:50 is when we expect things to start to get a little bit darker. Okay. Maximum is at 2:05, and by about 3:20 it should be all done. So about 2.5 hours of gradual darkness and then gradual lightness, but we won't get completely dark as they will south of us, where it will turn to night. It will basically turn to night. And the descriptions I've heard from people that have experienced this in the past are pretty amazing, where you're standing in a place where all of a sudden, it's the middle of the day, it gets dark. You can hear crickets start to chirp. You can hear birds start to roost and do all the things they normally do when it's dusk, when it's time to go to bed, time to lock up for the night. They start doing that. And of course, it only lasts for a couple of minutes. That's got to freak them out too. And then finally, let's see, the one other birthday besides my grandma's 113th today. My oldest grandson will be 10 on Tuesday. So happy birthday, Titus. Welcome to double digits, my man. You're going to rock it. I know you are. All right. So how are things going at PAWS? Do we want to take a little look around today, or do we want to focus on
I did post a picture of a cat, and I will go visit him.
Okay. Yeah. Let's go take a look at Carmel, did you say?
Carmel, yes.
Carmel the cat.
There's my camera too, so I can switch it. Very interesting. His owners died. Yep. It's a puppy in the...
That's not what I meant to do. I meant to do this. There we go. Awesome.
A fluffy kitty. This is Jocelyn. Is the puppy in a cage? Oh, there. Oh my gosh. I took a sidetrack to show you some puppies.
Hello, puppies. Oh my gosh, they're adorable.
What are they?
Chilean Shepherd, maybe.
Some kind of shepherd mix.
Pyrenees and
Chilean Shepherd. They're only 9 weeks old.
9 weeks old. These puppies will probably be at puppy yoga. At full weight, they'll probably be about 100 pounds, but aren't they fluffy and delightful?
Oh my goodness, they're beautiful. They're gorgeous.
Oh my goodness, they're probably bigger than my dogs now. I think those are the only 2 dogs that came in today. Puppy yoga is next Saturday from 10 to something. I'm going to go in this cage. This is the cat I sent you. This is Carmel.
Hello, Carmel.
I'm coming in, Carmel. I'm coming in. Carmel is the biggest cat in the world.
At least in your place.
Yeah. I was trying to. There we go. Carmel, can I sit down? We don't have much room. There's Carmel. He's 24 pounds. His owner died, so needing him to. Here's your Carmel. Come on. There you go. Can you be on the camera?
Carmel, you're looking good there. You can look at the camera. Yeah. Oh.
But I don't know. We can't get his full lovey frame in the picture.
There we go. Looking pretty good.
So his owner died, and he's looking for a new home. He's only, I think I put down that he's 3 years old, but very, very friendly and loving. So if you need a cat around your house, he would be the delight. Oh, there isn't much room in here for both of us. There he is. Thank you, Carmel. There's a good view of him.
Good looking little dude.
So that's Carmel.
PAWSHS.org for more info and more pictures.
And we do have kittens starting to come in. I'm stuck. I can't even get up, Carmel. I'm sorry. We're relaxing together here. Carmel will steal your heart and your home.
It was just a matter of time before they locked you in one of those cages, Joann.
I haven't Joann. She's still in one of those cages. Here's some. I lost count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 4 down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1 up above. These are like double layer cages.
What a bunch
all
of
gray tabbies. And I think they're going. Yeah, they're the Beatles. George, Paul, Ringo, and John, and then there's Petula Clark, the little girl. There's 4 boys and a girl.
That's funny. That's great.
So they ran a. They should have. Oh, it was a girl. I was going to say, wasn't there another Beatle, the 5th Beatle?
Tom would know that one. Yeah.
I was going to say Stewart, but that doesn't sound right.
Oh, I forget the guy's name. But yeah. The drummer that quit before they made it big. Ringo thinks Lucky Stars for him every day.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Here's another big cat, Ralph. at the door. Why aren't they coming in? Is it locked? So. So that's our. Oh, and I. No, it's a new month.
There we go.
So,
Starting all over.
Last week's Ducky was my foster. He got adopted, and then Fluff McDuff.
Fluff McDuff.
That was the one we sponsored last week.
That was our featured pet.
Our totals from. They got this wrong.
March adoptions.
Yeah. March adoptions.
Maybe they're predicting April.
They've got predictions for April adoptions.
So
yeah. March adoptions were 6 dogs and 31 cats. They made it so cute too with all the flowers and stuff, and then messed up the.
Whoops. Forward thinking, all that forward thinking. That happened.
So that's our pause for today.
There's our tour for today. Again, check out the website, pawshs.org, if you would like to see more, learn more about all things.
And I don't know about the yoga thing. I'm going to be there with 2 dogs, and having a mimosa. Mimosas. I really prefer Bloody Marys, but they're serving mimosas.
You and my wife. There we go. All right. Well, we don't have time, but let's go ahead and wrap this up for just the fun of it. Our big number of. Since we don't have time, we're not going to award any points, and you guys are tied right now anyway. So
we're not doing.
And I didn't keep Joann, or I didn't keep Diane on to play on the Tom side of things. But our big number of the week this week is 1.5 billion, and the answer is stream or sky. Stream or sky. Do you have a guess, Joann? For the fun of it today, for no points, what would be your guess?
I'll go with sky.
You'll go with sky. Have you heard of Legends Tower? Legends Tower is a proposed super tall skyscraper in Oklahoma City. And it's on a quest to become America's tallest building. The developer.
Yes, I think I did read about it.
Yeah, the developer says the project has secured full funding, which is $1.5 billion.
Oh, so I get a point.
You would have gotten a point today. Their plans are to start construction.
But Tom would have guessed sky because he was going to say he is gazing at the sky, so he would have guessed sky.
You would have thought I had something about the eclipse on this today.
Yeah, that's kind of why I went with it.
Nothing
That's
about
how many
the
people,
today.
1.5 billion people will be watching the eclipse on Monday.
Probably more than that. America's tallest building, if it's completed, will be in Oklahoma City, starting construction this fall. Wouldn't that be something? The Legends Tower in Oklahoma City. We'll see if that becomes a thing. NBC is going to stream its live coverage of the 2024 Paris Olympics opening ceremony, and it's going to be on over 150 IMAX screens across the United States. July 26th is the date, but this, Joann, will be the first Olympic Games opening ceremonies that will not what? What is not going to be about this Olympic Games opening ceremony that has been pretty much, as far as we can tell, at every other opening ceremony of the Olympics?
No torch?
There will be a torch.
Oh.
This is, I would have never guessed this, Joann. This will be the first time that an Olympic Games opening ceremony will not be held in a stadium.
Oh.
So what are they going to do? Well, this is in Paris, France. So Olympians will be floating down the River Seine in over 100 boats.
Oh. Interesting.
This we better get Diane back on here from emergency preparedness. This
Yeah,
could
really.
be this could be amazingly terrible. It could be great. I mean, I'm sure they got some great plans, and they're hoping it's going to be a beautiful thing happening in Paris. But
Maybe we should go to Paris and see that.
I'll enjoy watching it from whatever drone cameras they're using. I think that'll be great. But July 26th.
But that's I understand I don't understand the excitement of the eclipse, although I do know it doesn't happen very often. Someone was saying 50 years. I think I've seen partial eclipse, but total eclipses don't happen so often. But I'm not traveling anywhere to see it.
2017 was the last one we had here in Illinois, and 1979, I think, was the last time we had one that was fairly close to being a total eclipse here in our area, northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin.
That would be 45 years ago.
That would be 45 years ago.
Only know that because my son was born in 1979.
The only thing I remember about that is, as kids, we were told to make this thing out of large shoe boxes.
Yes.
Put a hole in it, and so we could watch. You could aim it at the sun and see it in the back of your box where it would cross. It was really quite interesting and kind of fun. But I don't know. That's all I remember. I was in like the 3rd or 4th grade in 1979.
Well, Jason was born April 15th. So I don't know what month it was. I don't remember
the date. I just remember the year.
Okay.
Anywho, that's going to wrap things up. Again, a special Monday podcast with the eclipse here in Northern Illinois. We'll see what we gather from that. Next week, I don't know. We'll see. Next week, Cassie Bonnet is our guest. She's from Mactown Construction, and Mactown Construction is hosting the INCROWD815 Networking Group the evening of April 25th. The daytime of April 25th, there's a lunch that I have a table at and still have 7 seats available. It's the Mosaic Partners and Possibilities Luncheon at Hilton Garden Inn. So if you would like to be at my table, I still have seats available.
What
free
date
lunch.
is it? What date is it?
Thursday, April 25.
See, I work on Thursday.
Okay. So this is a lunch from noon to 1 at Hilton Garden Inn.
Otherwise, I would be there.
I'm looking for 7 more guests. I'm looking for 7 more guests who want to be at the table with me. So
I don't think my boss doesn't like me to be gone.
You can't skip out for lunch. You can't skip out for lunch. I understand. All right. Remember, friends, you change the world. You change the world when you help one person. Be a blessing to someone this week. We'll try to do the same. Meet you back here next week for another INCROWD815 podcast. Thanks, Joann. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
INCROWD815. INCROWD815. INCROWD815.